G'day everybody and welcome to the conference. It's Mark Sparble here. I'm usually based at Microsoft headquarters in Washington State, USA, but I'm sending this recording to you from Melbourne, Australia as a special thank you to my great friend Adin, who's been an awesome Microsoft innovative educator expert for years, and we very much appreciate the work that he does. I get to spend a lot of time working across the globe, speaking to educators and school leaders about the topics that matter in education right now. Topics like student well-being, around how do we help students accelerate their learning to keep up, to catch up, to get ahead? How do we ensure that young people develop the skills they need to flourish, not just in the future of work, but also in the future of society? And importantly, how do we maintain a focus as educators on well-being? So these are the things I have an opportunity to talk about, and Adin has asked me to chat with you today around AI in education. Before I do that though, just a huge thank you from Microsoft Education to all of you here today, educators, school leaders, paraprofessionals, the people that assist in the running of the schools. We know that the work of educators carries with it an emotional toil. It's an incredibly hard and rewarding job. I know it's something that I've been doing for over 30 years working in education. So thank you on behalf of Microsoft Education for everything that you do each and every day. It makes a difference. And speaking of that background, here's just a glimpse if you're curious around what does it look like to teach and lead in schools maybe far away from where you are, somewhere like Australia, where I came from originally. You can see in this picture right here, this is Fraser Park Primary School in Murray Bridge. The first computer network I managed was a collection of Commodore 64 computers. Then I moved to this little school right here, and this was where the first PC was rolled out, so the first desktop computers. Moving on, I worked in schools where we developed whole computer rooms and CD towers, where we introduced the internet, and then leading up to rolling out one-to-one programs with mobile devices. So my work as an educator for 30 years has been very much tied to the development of technology, and that continues to this day. So when we think about current trends, it would have to be AI in education. And a big question is always to think about, how are you feeling about AI in education right now? When we ask educators across the globe, they kind of fall into the center category. On one side, you've got the Terminator. So if you like, imagining worst case scenario, this is the end of creativity and original thought, students cheating, or the technology being used for inappropriate purposes. And then on the other side, with WALL-E, you've got possibly AI being more benevolent, a kind assistant, something there to support. Educators tend to fall somewhere in the center. They're pragmatically optimistic and they see great benefit, but also they're concerned about things like privacy and security. I put together this chart just to ponder on how the use of technology, not just what it is, but how it's used, has changed over the decades. Right back to the 1930s when overhead projectors and slide projectors came into fashion, photocopiers. In some places they had scantrons which could automatically grade multiple choice question and answers where you'd color in the little circle. Moving through to personal computers, as I've talked about, ebooks, LMSs rolling in here, smartphone technology, all the way through to collaborative platforms and so on. You'll see at the bottom though, AI has been around a long time. This is not a new agenda item, but unless you were in a research university, you were probably largely oblivious to it. Back into the 50s, Back into the 1950s, artificial intelligence, a subset of computer science, was developed to help create algorithms which would allow machines to undertake intelligent-like behaviors. In the early 60s, machine learning, a subset of AI, was developed that allowed machines to be able to learn from existing data sets and improve upon those and start to make predictions based upon trend analysis. Then we moved into 2017 with deep learning, so neural networks, more brain-like networks being developed where machines are able to learn and apply new learning. And then, of course, the big explosion, November 2022, when ChatGPT was released and placed a tool which up until that point had largely been outside of the mainstream, right smack bang into everybody's hands and pockets. And you can see I've drawn a line directly up here to say 2022 generative AI in education is a thing. It allows you to create new written, visual, auditory or coded content given prompts and or existing data. The big shift, though, is the how it's being used and what for. We're moving to a world where machines and software can analyze, can see those hidden patterns that might exist in incredibly large data sets, which, are not maybe impossible, but improbable for humans. Optimize, and we see this when our navigation tools on our phone or our GPS suggest a route for us based upon traffic conditions or weather conditions or the amount of fuel you have. Being able to prophesize, so to predict, to work out when a part might be need to be replaced in a car or an air conditioner based upon usage and other metrics and data. Customize, tailor any product or service for you alone. And we see that all the time with Netflix or with Kindle, based upon your viewing or your reading or your consuming habits, you're being tailored specific products or packaging which might appeal to your particular purchasing habits. And digitizing and automating just about anything. Every time we use predictive text, which is becoming more and more advanced, or now using generative AI to generate original content just from a few prompts. Educators see lots of benefits from AI. And when you think about it, it's not surprising. A report done by McKinsey & Company suggested that around about 47% of teachers' time was not spent teaching. It's spent curating resources, modifying resources, communicating to parents, reading reports, editing reports, making sense of policies and documents. They're spending an awful lot of time not teaching. And what they would like to do would be to spend more time working with students. Look at this from the 2023 Work Trends Index. This is an education audience slice of a broader research study. 72% of employees lack the time and energy to do their job. 3.5 times more likely to struggle with strategic thinking. 77% of employees are very willing to delegate work to AI. But we recognize as educators there are risks, and we work with students, and we know that maintaining privacy, confidentiality, and security matter, and also introducing our students to information that is credible and authoritative matters. Here's a funny one. We probably all heard the term hallucinations as it relates to generative AI generating images. I asked for some images of wiener dog races and ended up with humans riding dash-ons. I asked salmon in the river and ended up with fillets of Atlantic salmon splashing around in a lake. Problem's not so much with generative AI here. The problem's with the prompting, which is why we see that prompt engineering is going to become, an incredibly valuable skill in the future. It seems when we think about AI, there's a solution for any problem that you possibly haven't thought of yet. So you can see on the screen, I've grabbed some current AI tools used in education, and there's a lot of them. A comment to make would be this: Microsoft's responsible AI principles have been in place for 8 or 9 years now. When we build AI tools into our products like Copilot, or others use our services and build AI features into their products like PowerSchool, Kahoot, and Anthology, they're designed and they're deployed based on these principles. Principles of fairness, reliability and safety, privacy and security, transparency, accountability, equity. So when we design and deliver AI, we hold ourselves accountable to these principles to make sure that the AI is being used responsibly and ethically. We know with technology, there's always challenges, and with challenges come creative solutions. If any of you have had your favorite mixtape unwind in the 1980s, like on the screen there, you'll know that there was probably a fix with some sticky tape or a pencil through the reel to reel it back in. When we think about AI, what are the challenges we're hearing from educators? Will it destroy education? We know that AI can perform at the same level as humans on many standardized tests, even passing the bar exam. Students could defer, cheat with AI when doing their own work, and that's a major concern of educators across the globe, and this could lead to worse outcomes across the board. But there's a promise there too. On the other hand, there's this opportunity that AI could potentially improve education. There's excitement that AI could be used to give students their own personal tutor, can get detailed explanations tailored to them, and this could lead potentially with improved outcomes across the board. Think about this as a kind of a clumsy example. Here's an obvious spelling error, which we might just type into Word, and it would give us a red squiggly line under Sarajevo. It wouldn't correct it, it would just note it to us. And when in Word we right-hand clicked it, it would give us some options. It's a simple example of how technology can potentially prompt learning rather than replace the human. It keeps the human in the loop. It's suggesting a range of options that might be the correct spelling for the word, and it gives me the chance to choose it rather than it could have just automatically replaced it with what it thought was the correct word. Here's another analogy. We could use a sports analogy for AI and think about the spectrum from undesirable to desirable. So let's imagine I was a runner or an athlete. On one end, I could boost myself temporarily using something like steroids. An example would be using spell checker, maybe in the technology section. In the middle, there's something like buying fancy new gear, maybe some new runners. You might get 3% faster, but when you take them away, you might be back exactly where you were before. And over on the final side, there's the one that we're aiming for with AI, where it's acting more like a coach that helps you train to improve yourself, even after working directly. So this gives you the long-lasting, self-sustaining benefits where it's basically supporting your learning, closing the feedback loop, allowing you to be successful in the short term, but also positioning you to be successful in the long term with or without a support. So it doesn't surprise me in one sense that educators are enjoying and embracing generative AI technologies inside of products like Copilot across Microsoft's tools. Here's the reason why. Teachers' superpower has always been questioning and prompting. Teachers are experts at creating a prompt and then pushing and prompting again until they get an answer that they're happy with. Teachers are fantastic at designing the kinds of questions that lead to new learning and new insights. And that hasn't changed. Teachers are still great questioners and prompters, and they've now got an incredible tool in generative AI, in tools like Copilot across Microsoft's products, which can take their questioning and prompting and turn it into a superpower. And speaking of superpowers, in just wrapping up this session for you in your conference, just keep in mind this. As a profession, we're simply better together. Learning is a social process, best done together. And as a profession, we're simply better together when we connect, when we collaborate, and importantly, when we share what we know with others. So I hope you enjoy this conference. I hope you have a great opportunity to contribute your thoughts, your great ideas across the day. Huge thank you again to Adin for the kind invitation to speak to you. Make sure you reach out. Consider this to be an introduction and also an invitation to follow up. Enjoy your conference.